Chapter 20. Nathan finished shaving in the icy water of the watering trough without benefit of the mirror. Then toweled himself dry and walked back inside the barn. As the interior of the cabin was yet to be finished, Nathan had been sleeping in a pile of meadow hay he had cut, dried, and put in the barn last fall. Above his bed he had tacked a rough set of shelves where he kept most of his personal belongings. He set the straight razor and the shaving mug on one end, then turned to the other. There sat two of the books he had purchased the previous day in Palmyra. The top one had a bookmark at page 54, the spot where Nathan had stopped reading the previous night. The second one lay new and unopened as of yet. He set the top one aside and picked up the other. For a long moment he held it, staring at it vacantly, his thoughts on what he was about to do. Then, chiding himself for vacillating, thrust it under his arm. Moving quickly now, he gathered up the other items he needed and put them into a small wooden box. There was the crow quill pen, a small inkwell hollowed from soft stone, the bottle of butternut ink he had made 3 days before, and a small jar of fine sand, a carefully folded sheet of wrapping paper safe from a small roll of string, finally 4 or 5 sheets of blank. He took a small detour as he came out of the yard and walked to the area behind the barn, served as a small lumber yard. There he found a discarded cedar sheet. It was not serviceable for the cabin, but it was smooth enough to make a good lap. Since there were no furnishings inside the house, he carried his things to the front step. The morning had dawned bright and cold. The overcast, rainy skies that had hung over the eastern United States for the past 2 weeks had finally moved out over the Atlantic. By afternoon, the temperature would probably reach into the high 40s. Now, just an hour after sunup, the air temperature was still hovering around the freezing point. The first rays of the sun bathed the south-facing porch of the cabin with warmth, and he walked there, moving swiftly now that his mind was set. He put his things down, poured a small quantity of ink from the bottle into the inkwell, then sat himself down, taking the lapboard and a sheet of paper. He leaned back against the supporting post and reached for the pen. My dearest Lydia. He stared at the words momentarily, stumbling at his own boldness. Did he yet dare refer to her in such endearing terms? His lips pressed into a tight line. That was how he felt. If she did not, then she would have to deal with it. Writing slowly, carefully, trying the words out in his mind before he committed them to paper, he began. I write to you with the heaviest of hearts, for I know the distance which separates us and the depths of pain I have caused you. Fuck's sake, why? How? What? Would to God I could somehow reach out and heal the breach. What did you do, Nathan? What did you do? What's going on? In a few weeks you shall leave for Boston, though it tears at the roots of my very being to think of you that day. I understand now what it is that drives you to do so. This place, this little homestead over which I labor, once filled me with joyous anticipation because I saw in my mind's eye the day when you and I would fuck each other's brains out and have little ones running around. Now the labor is drudgery. I drive myself with ever-increasing intensity to complete the tasks but it is only so I can keep you from my thoughts. But it is to no avail. I'm filled with a dark and heavy gloominess when I realize you shall never brighten these walls with your smile. More and more of late I am possessed of the idea I shall sell the land, perhaps to my father, and head west. It would be a great boon to Mother to learn of Joshua's whereabouts and if he is safe. We have long since given up hope he will write, so perhaps it is my mission to locate him and put my mother's heart at rest. He leaned back, letting his eyes sweep across his little domain. The barn, the smokehouse, the split rail fences. He felt a sharp peg. It was the work of his own hands, and it was good. But he dipped the pen into the inkwell, not without Lydia, not here. But my purpose in writing is not to dwell further on the pain we both share. What stands between us is centered around the person of Joseph Smith. I believe Joseph is a man called of God to bring about a great work in our time. You believe he is a charlatan and a fraud, the devil's own servant. I suggest there is a way to determine which of us is correct. It is given by the Savior himself in his great Sermon on the Mount. He said, "By their fruits you shall know them." Oh, Lydia, that is the key. The Master said a good tree brings forth good fruit, and an evil tree, evil fruit. Well, there it is. If you would truly judge Joseph, you must examine his fruits. With this letter, I am sending you a copy of the Book of Mormon. It is the fruit of Joseph's labors. It is a way to judge for yourself whether he is what you and your parents see him to be, or what I and my mother have come to believe he is. Near the very last of the book on page 586, I have named a passage for you. It was written by Moroni, the last scribe of the Book of Mormon, and the man who Joseph claims came as an angel and told him of the sacred record. Mormon gives each reader of the book a personal test and promise. Here are his words. Nathan stopped and picked up the book. He opened it to the back, found the testimonies of the 3 and the 8 witnesses, backed up 3 pages, and let his eyes run down the page till he found the place which Oliver Cowdery had pointed out to him the night before. Who had made it to page 85 and had been convinced and was now using it already. Okay, why not? Carefully he drew a bracket in the margin. Then he began to copy the words to his paper. And when you shall receive these things, I would exhort you that you would ask God, the eternal Father, in the name of Christ, if these things are not true. And if you shall ask with a sincere heart, with real intent, having faith in Christ, and he will manifest the truth of it unto you by the power of the Holy Ghost. My dearest Lydia, I ask no more of you than that. Read the book and take the matter to God. Otherwise, you gotta make yourself a nun. Trust in his will and wisdom, and you can suck my schlong. I pray daily, nay, a dozen or more times each day, that he will somehow intervene in our behalf and heal the breach between us. But with faith, I shall leave all in his hands. The other day, as I was reading the Bible, I found a verse that expresses the deepest feeling of my heart. If you would know how I truly feel, read the words of John, as found in his 2nd epistle, 1st chapter, 5th verse. Yours with the love beyond measure, Nathan Steed. Actually, last time you talked to Lydia, she did measure your love. She said it doesn't change anything. He read it over again slowly, finding his loftiness of language a little surprising, even to himself. It was another evidence of the power of the emotions that drove him. Taking the small jar of sand, Nathan sprinkled it carefully over the page. He let it sit for a minute, blotting up the ink with the paper, and blew the sand away. He read through the whole thing once more, satisfied. He folded the paper carefully, placed it inside the front cover of the book, then reached for the wrapping paper and string. Nathan didn't want his pa to think he was sneaking around his back, so he did not go straight to the house. He turned into the barn. It was empty. The milk cow was still tied in her stall, her tail twitching lazily as she chewed her cud in a slow, contented rhythm. One look at her udder, now shriveled and half its normal size, told Nathan his father had already finished the milking. He walked through the barn and around to the tool shed. He checked the ice house and the smokehouse, then the small chicken coop. The hens were pecking at the wheat scattered on the floor, but there was no one there. Puzzled, Nathan stopped and turned around. Once his father came out for chores, he rarely went back in the house before he was called in to eat breakfast, and that would likely not be ready for another half hour. He lifted his eyes to scan across the fields. About a quarter of a mile away, there was a movement down by the trees that lined the creek. He shaded his eyes against the rising sun. The figure of a man with a rifle under his arm was just entering the woods. After a squirrel or maybe a raccoon, Nathan decided. For a moment he considered going after him, then shrugged and turned and headed for the house. Nathan! Matthew was at the table working arithmetic problems on the small slate board. He was up like a shot and threw himself at his brother. Nathan caught him and swung him around, nearly losing his balance. Come July, Matthew would have his 9th birthday, and he was starting to fill out rapidly, At the head of the stairs, Becca's head appeared. "Hi, Nathan," she called. She was still in her nightshirt, brushing at her hair. "Hello, beautiful." She giggled and disappeared. Mary Ann stepped out from behind the sheet, then curtained off the parents' bedroom from the rest of the house. She had a stack of folded trousers and shirts. "Hello, son." "Good morning, Ma. Had breakfast yet?" He grinned a little sheepishly. "Not yet." "Good. Pa go hunting?" "Yes. He saw 3 or 4 pheasants down in Mr. Harris's cornfield last night." She walked to the wardrobe and began to put the clothes away. Nathan reached inside his coat and brought out the book he had hidden there. When she turned around, he was holding it out toward her. She stopped, squinting a little. Then her eyebrows shot up and her mouth opened in silence. "Oh." He nodded and stepped toward her. "Yes, Mom. Done." She took it from him and, as though she were blind, let her fingers run over the title and the fine leather work of the cover. "What is it, Nathan?" Matthew said, arching his head to better see the front cover. "Yes, Nathan, what is it?" Melissa was coming down the stairs, her hands behind her, tying the belt of her dress. "It's the Book of Mormon." "Really?" She came to stand beside her brother, who opened the book to the title page. They read it together. Matthew eyed it suspiciously. "Does it have any pictures?" Nathan laughed. "Nope, no pictures." "But, oh, Matthew," his mother said softly, "a book doesn't have to have pictures to be a wonderful book." "Where did you get it?" Melissa asked. "Mr. Harris came to that house day before yesterday to show me his. I went right into town that very day and bought it from the Grandin's bookstore." Mary Ann opened to the middle of the book and let her eyes read quickly. She turned to another place at random and did the same. And slowly, almost as though in an effort, she closed the book and held it out to him. Nathan shook his head. "This copy is yours, Ma. I bought it for you." Her eyes softened. "How thoughtful of you." As she took it, Nathan drew a wrapped package from his jacket and handed it to Melissa. "Will you do me a great favor, Melissa?" "What?" "Will you go into the village today?" He paused, with brows pulling downward. "For Lydia?" she asked softly. He nodded. If I so much as go in the store, her father will come running like a horse with a nest of horses on its tail. Of course. What if she doesn't take it? She'll take it. His frown deepened. The question is, will she read it? His mother looked up slowly, a shadow darkening her face as well. I can't even take mine, Nathan. He was startled for a moment, then his jaw set. Ma, he said firmly, this is my gift. Pa can't be holding that against you if it's a present. Yeah. And rape isn't rape as long as she wrote on a piece of paper beforehand that you don't have to stop, even if she begs you to stop. What? It's true. She signed it on a piece of paper. You signed it too, and you both come to an agreement. He's going to do what he wants to her. She's going to lay there and take it. No matter what she says, he's not going to stop until he's finished. She signs her name on the paper. It's not rape. She shook her head. The night we came home from Fayette, she looked down, noting Matthew's wide eyes following every word. She let the book drop to her side. Matthew, we're going to need some eggs for breakfast. Go check the hen house and the barn and gather up enough for the family. Ma, he cried. Go on with you now, she said firmly. But I'm doing my arithmetic. Melissa put both hands on his shoulders and turned him toward the door. When are you excited about doing your arithmetic? With the exasperated sigh that only a child can give full justice to, he dropped his shoulders and walked to the door. I saw one of the hens behind the tool shed, his mother called, as he pulled it open and stepped out. Start there. Once the door was shut, she turned back to Nathan, her eyes filled with sadness. Your father and I had a talk the night after we came back from the witness. He was very angry. Mr. Harris had come earlier and told him about his experience as one of the three witnesses. And he didn't believe him? Nathan burst out incredulously. She shook her head. He doesn't think Martin is lying, but he's convinced he's been deceived. Deluded is the word he used. He calls it devil's work. But that's crazy. He's always been so respectful of Mr. Harris, Melissa said. I know. When Martin told him he had seen the angel himself, it's like it snapped something in your father. She looked up at Nathan. There was no hope in her voice. He's absolutely set against it, Nathan. He's forbidden me to talk about it. With him, with you. Last week I specifically asked him about the Book of Mormon. He absolutely forbids it. He held out the book again toward him. He has no right to do that, Nathan said hotly. No right. She pushed the book back gently against him. I wouldn't sneak behind her. I won't sneak behind his back, Nathan. Well, I can, Melissa said, snatching it from Nathan. Melissa, her mother warned, your father will be furious. He hasn't told me I can't have it, she retorted, tossing her head. This is what I've been waiting for. You both believe in Joseph, and I think I do too, but I want to read the book first. I don't think this is wise, his mother started, but Nathan raised his hand. He can make that decision for himself, he said. He has no right to make the choice for you or Melissa. In what world would a woman ever listen to her son over her husband? Kid, you don't get it. My pelvic thrusts will not be as rewarding. They will be lacking a key element. She looked away, staring out of the window. Well, maybe the Lord will soften his heart, but until then, I am still married to him. Nathan's jaw set, and he started to say something, but Melissa gave him a quick shake of her head. In an instant, Nathan's anger left him. He stepped to his mother and took her by the shoulders. When he turned her around, her eyes were shining. It'll be all right, Ma. You'll see. He had to like with Lydia. The bitterness was like a cockleburr in his throat. He put his arms around her and pulled her to him. Because teaching a boy to be a man means teaching him to lie straight in somebody's face without any evidence, without any confidence, without any wherewithal you would need. State frankly the clear, blank fucking lie. Fuck. Okay. It'll be alright, Ma. You'll see. Yes. Next time I am falling from the sky and whatever. By definition, alright is about the same as fine. So, you mean things will be about exactly the same as they already are right now? They stood like that for several moments, then Nathan cleared his throat. He didn't want to add to her sorrow. She had to know. Ma? What, son? Or something else? She said at the back. What? Joseph has been instructed to organize a church. She stared at him for a moment, not comprehending. Church? Melissa blurted. Yes. He's to organize the Church of Christ on the earth once again. Mother breathed. I knew it. I just felt it would come to this. That's wonderful news. Is it? He blurted. You think Pa's going to let us join it? She took a deep breath, then let it out slowly. Dude, Nathan, for fuck's sake, you're the one who just said it's going to be alright. You're on your own now. You do what your heart tells you to do. He whirled away from her, biting his lip. Finally, he turned back. It would be a week from this Tuesday down at the Whitmer. He looked at Melissa. They gave a short, bitter laugh. Joseph said you and Ma are invited to come. Melissa had missed the irony. She was thinking only of the implications. But I'm not sure I'm ready to join his church yet, she said. He's not asking you to. He just said we were invited if we wanted to be there when he organized it. Think of it, Nathan, his mother said softly. The Church of Christ, once again on the earth. Mother, you've got to be there, he said, nearly choking as the sudden pain twisted inside. You believed before I did. You've always known. Yes. It came out simply and without any pride. Yes, I have. I would. Her head dropped, and Nathan saw that her lower lip was suddenly trembling. I would give anything to be there. Would you, Ma? Would you give your husband? Would you give your marriage? Would you give up your decision to not read this book right now and start reading it right now? Would you let us carve out the remaining eggs inside of your ovaries and sell them to science? Then I'm taking you, he said with determination. Pa will just have to learn to live with it. She shook her head slowly. No, Nathan, I was lying to your face. Yes, Mama, Melissa broke in, grabbing one of her hands. Nathan's right. If it means that much to you, you have to go. I'll talk to Papa. I can make him understand. She patted Melissa's head gently. Not on this one, you can't. Not even you, Melissa. She managed to smile. But I want you to go, Nathan. Be there so you can tell me everything. He started to shake his head, but she grabbed his arm, suddenly fierce. Yes, Nathan. It's my only chance to hear of it. Then her shoulders straightened and she smiled warmly. At the both of them. Come on. Your father will be home from the hunting and there'll be no breakfast. That won't do. Especially not this morning. Nathan stood stock still, watching the pain being pushed aside, watching this woman that he loved and admired so much bite down on her frustration so she didn't cry out. He stepped to her and kissed her quickly on the cheek. That's right, children. Because if the fight is always about whether or not it's right or not, or true or not, or whether we can ever even do it or not, then we'll never even wonder what it's like, and what it means, and why we're even there doing whatever it is we're there doing. He stepped her, kissed her quickly on the cheek. Well, I'll not be staying for breakfast. Her head came up quickly. Why not? He shook his head grimly. I've got the flooring to put down. His eyes narrowed. And it's best I not see Pa right now, I reckon. He reached out, touched Melissa's arm. And now he's just becoming the kid that wants to fight Pa, but he's going to get upset at Joshua still for fighting with Pa. He reached out, touched Melissa's arm. Thanks for taking my package in, Melissa. Whew. Spun on his heel and walked out of the door. See, that's a phrase in books. But we actually do it in real life. People look like you like you're freaking fucked up fuck. Or a vampire. Benjamin Steed arrived at Nathan's cabin shortly after 9 o'clock. The leather pouch which carried his carpenter tools slung over one shoulder, the broad axe over the other. As he walked into the yard, he heard the sound of hammering among, coming from inside the house, and nodded to himself. Martin Harris had been right. As Benjamin had gone hunting that morning for pheasants, he'd found Martin down by the creek fishing. They visited for a few moments, though there was an obvious strain between them now. But Martin had mentioned that he'd been to see Nathan the day before yesterday and found him just starting to put the planks down in the cabin. Do you like how he fucking just doesn't even actually lend a fucking hand either to Nathan? And Nathan builds the whole thing himself. Like, it's almost like, no, you don't get a single credit for a single inch of the house your mother and I live in, Nathan. But then also, he doesn't help him a lick on his own house. But then also, it's gonna show up, I bet, at Nathan's own house and be like, this is my house. But Martin had mentioned that he'd been to see Nathan the day before yesterday and found him just starting to put the planks down in his cabin. Children love and care for their parents, and parents treat them like shit and give a fuck at all. It irked between Benjamin a little to find that out from his neighbor instead of from his own son. Planking a floor could be done by one man, but it was heavy work, and two could make it go more than twice as fast as a man working alone. He understood a man taking pride in doing his own work, but there was no shame in asking family for help. For fuck's sake, you fat fuck, you never ask a friend or family for help, so shut up. Alright, because the rules are directional. He stepped onto the porch, stopping a moment to notice the front door. It was a fine chestnut. Benjamin noted with satisfaction that Nathan had used shiplap joints, which meant that the vertical and horizontal boards both had a notch cut out so they fit together like a tight puzzle. Mitered joints might look all fancy. As soon as the wood cured, they pulled apart and the door began to jam. It pleased him that Nathan had listened and learned. The hammering had stopped now, and Benjamin suspected his son had heard his footsteps on the porch. What is the insane energy of an asshole father who will show up and take anything and everything from his sons, and then will turn around and never give them a single fucking penny? The hammering had stopped now, and Benjamin suspected his son had heard his footsteps on the porch. He set the axe down, opened the door, and stepped in. Nathan was on his knees, laying down the next row of cellar strips, to which the planks would be nailed. When he saw who it was, he straightened slowly, laying the hammer down. Morning, Nathan. Morning, Pa. There was a definite coolness in the air, which Benjamin sensed almost immediately. Nathan could not afford glass at this early stage of being on his own and had put up oiled paper across the two front windows. The back door was open, letting in a little more light. But the cabin was half in gloom, and Benjamin could not see Nathan's face clearly. "Heard you were putting in your floor. Thought maybe you could use some help." "Who told you that?" "Saw Martin Harris down doing some early morning fishing. Said he'd been here day before yesterday." "Look, Pa, you helping with the floors basically means that somehow I am paying to have to put up with your bullshit and not be allowed to speak my mind. So no thanks." "Saw Martin Harris down doing some early morning fishing. Said he'd been here day before yesterday." Nathan's head came up. "He tell you why he was here?" "No." Benjamin noted the sudden tightness around his son's mouth. "Why?" Nathan shrugged and picked up his hammer again. Benjamin was puzzled by what seemed to be some undercurrent of resentment, but brushed it aside. "Where you got the planks? Looks like you're about ready for some more." Nathan stood, letting the hammer hang down at his side. "Want to tell you I was over to the house this morning?" That caught Benjamin off guard. "No, this morning?" He nodded. "Before?" Then a thought struck him. "You come to ask for help?" "No." Snapped out. "No." Snapped out like a blacksmith's tongs clipping a nail head. Benjamin unslugged the tool pouch, perplexed. Something was definitely eating at Nathan. He had not the slightest clue what it might be. Nathan's chin came up. "Bought Ma a Book of Mormon." Lowered the tools carefully to the floor. "You what?" "I bought Ma a Book of Mormon. I went into town day before yesterday and bought her one." His lips curled in disgust. "See, and then how come it's on me to believe that the way to be a good person and go about this shit is to be a fucking ass fuck face hole to people and put on an attitude like Nathan right now?" "Oh, don't worry, Pa. She wouldn't take it. Said you'd already threatened her if she did." In one moment, his perplexity turned to cold anger. Good thing. Nathan stepped forward, his jaw working, his fingers clenching and unclenching. "No, Pa, it's not a good thing. It's wrong. Real wrong, Pa." "Now look." Nathan's voice had risen a step. "No, you look. What right do you have to tell us what we will or won't believe? You believe what you want to stay away from Joseph Smith and his devil ways." Nathan threw up his hands and whirled away, too angry to speak. "You and your ma want to join some normal church, thump the Bible a little, say your prayers, that's your business. When you start taking on with evil, then I draw the line." Nathan spun back around, eyes blazing. "That's right. Call it evil. That makes bigotry all right then. That's what the Christians said about the Jews before they slaughtered them by the thousands. They were Christ killers, so wipe the whole of them out." Benjamin rocked back. "And so it goes, one religion persecuting another. After all, if they're different, they've got to be evil." "I don't." Nathan bored in, overriding him. "That's what I thought America was all about. No more kings telling people what to believe. No more churches persecuting other churches." Stopped, breathing hard. "Is that what Grandpa Steed gave his legs fighting for? Freedom to believe in whatever you want as long as Benjamin Steed or Josiah McBride happens to approve of it first? You know, that's not what I'm..." Nathan's voice dropped to a bare whisper. "I'm really proud about that." For one moment, Benjamin felt the same blinding rage that had exploded in him the night in the saloon. when Joshua had laughed at him. The very memory hit him like a blow alongside the head, nearly taking his breath away. He reached forward and grabbed Nathan around the collar tightly and then threw him to the ground. Just kidding. He stepped back, his eyes burning, his chest heaving. Nathan's eyes held his, full of condemnation. Full of condemnation and shame. Because that's what we do, people. Condemn and shame people for not believing us and not understanding. "We came here to help," he said in a hoarse whisper. "I don't need to stand here and take this." In one movement, he reached down and grabbed his tool bag that spun on his heel. No, he didn't. Okay, nobody is spinning on their heels. Why would you say that? Gerald Lund, get off your fat fucking ass and pause the movement of your fingers for a second and actually do it. Spin on your heel. Nobody spins on their heels. Certainly not this Benjamin Steed and son. He grabbed the latch. He heard a strangled sob. Stop. His flight arrested. "No, Pa," came the hoarse whisper from behind him. "Go. I don't want your help." There was an agonized silence for a moment, then, "I'm not proud to be your son anymore." God help him. Whoa. Wow, that's taking some real intense cuts there, Nathan. You didn't even give him a chance to read the book. And we all know he thinks Joseph's a decent person, so. Not even ad hominem. He really believes Joseph's fallen for some crazy demon substance. The tinkling of the bell echoed through the store as Melissa shut the door, stopping to peer around the room. After the brightness of the sunshine, it took a minute for her eyes to adjust. When they did, she felt her hopes fall. For there was no one in the store except Josiah McBride, and she didn't really feel like bouncing on him today. Sorry. Good morning. He was behind the counter. I went too far. His account book spread before him, a quill pen in one hand. He looked up and smiled pleasantly. "Good morning, miss." Dropping the package to her side and moving it slightly behind her, Melissa moved slowly forward. "Good morning, Mr. McBride." It's true, though, huh? It's like everybody cares about what Josiah McBride thinks. What do you care what? Who would it be around here? Dropping the package to her side and moving it slightly behind her, Melissa moved slowly forward. "Good morning, Mr. McBride. How may we help you?" She was still smiling, and it was obvious he had not yet recognized her. She decided she would capitalize on the advantage quickly. "Is Miss Lydia here?" He shook his head. "No, Lydia has gone with her mother and her aunt to Canandaigua to shop." Oh, there was no hiding her disappointment. "Oh. She won't be back until tomorrow night. Is there something I can help you with?" Melissa bit her lip, considering the options quickly. She knew the importance of putting this into Lydia's hand directly. She also knew she had been lucky to get away and come to town without a major confrontation with her father. He'd come back from Nathan's, silent and withdrawn, and gone straight to the barn to work. When Melissa had approached him to ask permission to go to the village, quaking at the thought of what she would say if he asked her purpose, he had merely shrugged, brushing her away as if he hadn't heard. Another day and she might not be so fortunate. Then Josiah McBride took the decision out of her hands. His eyes had dropped and was looking at the package she had half hidden behind her. "Is that something for Lydia?" he asked. Slowly, she brought it around, nodding. He reached out for it. She could only withhold it from him by making a lot of explanation. Reluctantly, she handed it across to him. Yes. Or she could say, I will bring it back later. I was asked to deliver this directly. Could you see she gets it? Okay, literally, if somebody says to you, I was asked to hand this directly to the person I'm asking you to give it to, you would literally have to, in good conscience, say, I am not the person you were told to give this to directly. You are not allowed to give this to me. No. Of course, he smiled again. Any message to go with it? Greatly relieved at his pleasant demeanor, Melissa shook her head. No, thank you. If you will just see she gets it. That I will. Thank you. He nodded absently, set the package down, and was back to looking at the books even as she turned around and headed for the door, pausing once to look over her shoulder. Josiah McBride realized his eyes had strayed once again to the package sitting on the counter beside him. Something was nagging at him, and he finally set the pen aside and picked it up again. It was wrapped in plain brown paper, tied neatly with a string. The light on the book is bouncing off my face. One word, Lydia, was written boldly on the front. He picked it up, looking more closely at the handwriting, knowing he was a bad father and a bad person for doing what he was doing, but knowing that he was using his right as a father to be a bad person. He didn't fucking care to do it if she wasn't gorgeous. If she wasn't fucking gorgeous, he wouldn't even fucking care. And if he did open it, he'd just laugh and then he'd hand it to her and be like, I don't give a fuck what you do, fat fuckface. Do whatever the fuck you want. It's true. It was definitely a book. He could feel its shape. The weight of the package confirmed it. Suddenly, he started. I don't know, I never had an ugly daughter. The girl was a steed. That was why she had looked familiar. He peered at Lydia's name, a sick feeling coming over him. It was Nathan's handwriting. That could mean only one thing. Looking quickly around the store and seeing he was still alone, he carefully untied the string and let the wrapping paper fall away. There was a sharp intake of breath when he saw the title of the book that now lay exposed before him. 5 minutes later, he refolded the letter and put it back inside the book. He had read and reread it 3 times, each time his lips becoming more compressed, each time his eyes growing older. As he shut the book, there was no hesitation. He swept up the wrapping paper and string, along with the book, and strode to the back of the store where they kept the large trash barrel. He had just emptied it that morning. With great satisfaction, he slammed the book into it. Then he moved to where he had been unpacking some bolts of material from the mills of New England. He gathered up the paper wrappings which had protected them, wadded them into balls, and stepped again to the trash bin. When he was finished, he leaned over and looked inside. The book and its wrapping were now completely covered with several more inches of paper. Satisfied, he went back to the counter and turned to his account book. Oh, so he just straight up lies to a girl, too. I mean, he was a liar. I just didn't know that someone would be so willing to straight up lie. Are you sure you told Pa supper's ready? Matthew looked at his older sister as though she were daft. Yes, Melissa. I told him twice. Mary Ann looked up. What did he say, Matthew? Nothing. He just moved his head up and down and kept staring at the door. Becca looked worried. That's what he was doing when I went out to feed the chickens, too, Mama. Melissa turned to her mother. And this afternoon, when I asked him if I could go to the village, it was like he barely heard me. Mary Ann stood up. You children go on and eat. I'll go talk with your father. No, Mom, that's not how we do things as a family. Okay. You should sit here and eat with us, or have us wait until you go talk to him. I agree. She's choosing the middle path of peace. You gotta stop doing that. Everything's gonna go horrible for you. She took off her apron and took down a shawl with pegs near the door. You mean like by where Thor hung Mjolnir? Melissa, there's more lamb in the pot. Yes, Mom. It was nearly full dark, and with the sun gone, the air had turned crisp and chill. She pulled, that could happen in like 3 seconds too. She pulled the shawl more tightly around her, dreading what was about to come. Sounds like a very healthy daily relationship. When her husband had announced after breakfast that he was going over to Nathan's to help with the flooring, she had nearly dropped the dish she was washing. But as she grappled with how to say there might be a better day, he had got his hat and was gone. Then, no more than 20 minutes later, he had come back. I really like that line. But as she had grappled with how to say there might be a better day, not today! No, Ben, not today. Well, Ben, it's possible that there might be a better day to do this, though. He had got his hat and was gone. There is humor. There is humor in places. I just found one. There might be a better day. Then, no more than 20 minutes later, he had come back. She had watched him from the window, stiff as an axe handle, not looking to either side, striding forward with eyes grim and mouth shut. I was going to tell you there might have been a better day. With a sinking heart, she knew her fears had been realized. Which ones? Nobody's dead. She stopped at the bar and took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and stepped in. He had gotten out the magazines of his favorite girls from the calendar of the calendar of the pinup girls of the Revolutionary War. No. He put that one aside and grabbed the one from the calendar pinup girls of the War of 1812. No. But how long does he stay in the bar before somebody's allowed to question whether or not he's considering one of the animals? He had lit no lamp. The interior of the barn was getting quite dark now. She stood there for a moment, letting her eyes adjust, finally making out his dark shape, sitting on the workbench. He used to fix the harnessing equipment. She moved slowly to his side, feeling more than seeing his eyes upon her. Feeling more than seeing his eyes upon her. For several moments, she stood beside him, neither one speaking. Then she reached out and put a hand on his shoulder. He did not move. Oh, Ben, what happened between you and Nathan? He stirred but said nothing. Got to remember, Ben, he's still very upset over Lydia. He said he brought you a Book of Mormon. His voice was empty, hollow sounding, and she felt herself tense. Yes, but I told him I couldn't take it, not without your blessing. He said that. She squeezed his shoulder a little, suddenly realizing that in spite of all the frustrations, she loved this man deeply. But is this how our daily interactions with people are supposed to be? You're supposed to get driven to the point of you don't even know if he's ever going to come back, or if your children are going to ever be able to talk to him, or if he's going to beat Matthew now. For you to realize, oh, fuck, what? Actually? Deeply? It's not in your daily interactions. It's not in the way you look at each other. For God's sake, it's not in the way you talk to each other. It's absolutely, definitely not in the way you treat each other. It's not in your priorities. It's not on your perspective on life and existence. You literally deceive and delude yourself and lie to yourself to stick with this dude that until you are brought to moments like this, forget that you even love. I'll not be going against your will, Dan. I told you that. Oh, but she's my grandma from... Yeah. That's what it is, though. Like, this is what would have happened to my grandma when she was... my great-grandma. Or my great-great-grandma. God help us all, I did see still happening to my grandma. And so I assume it's what happens to my mom. Yes. Yeah, it's fucked up. He nodded in the darkness. And again the silence stretched out. Finally, he straightened. Does it mean that much to you? Oh, finally, he straightened. Does it mean that much to you? What? Joseph in the Book of Mormon. She felt her breath catch in her throat. Oh, I'm gonna go out on a limb here for this guy, because honestly, at this point, no. No. There shouldn't be anything about any of this that is being a priority greater than your marriage, you two. For her, she even admitted it's just like reading the Bible. She felt her breath catch in her throat. Yes, she finally whispered. It means more to me than anything beside you and my children. She could feel disappointment in him, but his next word hit her like the weighted end of a haystack in her sweet. Then I'll not be saying anything more about it. See, and there's that too. There hasn't been a reason yet for him to let it be something that stands between her and him either. It's just like somebody said something and somebody said something and then somebody wrote down some words. She stared at him, not comprehensive. Want to read the Book of Mormon? You have my permission. Oh, Ben, it's not that. It's just until we come to the understanding that I don't need you. Lady, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say that I'm not in it until death. I'm in it to keep you alive forever and then still then. I like it. That's how she's behaving. Nice. I'm sorry, but until actually, I have still never heard Joseph had anybody do anything. Literally, for the yes or the no that mattered in any way whatsoever at all. I do mean that. Although I do suppose you could have your Kirkland temple. But I think it was until we understood that it didn't matter that we got the temple back. Trying to make money off of it because they didn't understand how it mattered. But other than that, no. No. Some problems here, yo. So I like it. I like that this is happening, at least, because it's literally like if I was told somebody, no, you found what at the library? 1984? Well, I heard that someone said that someone else said that the person that came up with that is and if you read that, he's saying it's not even his book. I don't care. If you read 1984, we are no longer going to be together, ever. Do you understand me? I don't care if you open up a book in my presence in front of me at my feet. And it literally starts off with how to resorb the immaculate and awful horrendousness of the power of the Lord and Savior Satan into every inch of every cell of your soul. And it begins with drinking the blood of babies out of their private parts. I can tell you can't. I'm certainly not going to tell you that if you do read it, I'm no longer going to lay you in my bed. It'd be if I found you with our child strung up on front of the fireplace and you were slowly cutting the skin of his feet off while he was wailing and screaming. I wouldn't care whether you were doing it because of the book or not. And I wouldn't care if you told me that because of the book you wanted to do that. I would tell you to not do that. But I would also tell you that, unfortunately, the child is our shared child. And you are perfectly going to be alone with this child. And if you choose to chop the skin off of our child's feet in front of the fireplace, slowly letting the blood drip for your ceremonies, I'm not going to be able to stop you. Are you telling me that these people have spent more time getting to know the intimate details? No, they haven't. They got like a couple of paragraphs and he said, she said. I think it could be fun to talk about a book that describes in detail how to sacrifice your own child to the worst demon deities that ever existed in the worst ways possible. The act of actually doing that should never be done. There's gotta be a line here. How many times have I thought I'm gonna grab the wheel on the left here and that semi is gonna finish me off? I could write a book based on an obsession with wanting to pull the steering wheel and have that semi truck finish me off. I could read it to my children and it could become world famous. Doesn't mean that's what... Dropping to her knees in front of him, actively and intensely working the buckle of his belt, barely able to keep within herself, unsure of how to offer him any other tribute. Okay, it doesn't say anything about working the fasteners of his belt. She clasped his hands. Do you mean that, Ben? She cried, hot tears springing to her eyes. Do you really mean it? He nodded slowly. My feelings about Joseph haven't changed. He finally turned to look at her, though his face was nothing but deep shadows in the barn's gloom. But I'll not be making you try to accept my feelings anymore. Mary Ann sat back on her heels, her heart soaring. Then a thought struck her, and she felt it plummet again. She took a quick breath. Ben? She felt his eyes on her. Oh, for God's sake, Mary Ann, shut the fuck up! Give him a goddamn down this damn! Joseph is going to organize a church. There was a sudden stiffness, but again he only nodded. A week from Tuesday, down in Fayette, he invited Nathan and Melissa and me. You could have asked him on Tuesday. Melissa, too, came out almost as a cry of pain. Melissa's not sure if she accepts it yet, and I'll not be pushing her to it. I promise you that. Peter Whitmer will be there, and I think she'd like to go. She paused, waiting for a response. When there was none, she took the final plunge. If I were to be baptized, God help this family, yo. I mean, literally, God help this Benjamin guy. She's just giving him the 1, 2, 3. Go down. He stood, moving slowly, as though weighed down with an infinite tiredness. But he took her hand and brought her up to face him. Then, taking her by the shoulders and holding her gently, he said, I told you, I'll not be telling you what you can and can't believe. If that's what you want, I'll not be stopping you. With a cry of joy, she threw her arms around him and buried her face against his chest. Thank you, Ben. No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Even at this point, Ben should probably say, lady, thank God.
Okay. Guess that's what I'll do then.